All right. So, how's everybody doing? Yeah. All right. All right. All right. There you go. All right. So, my name is Nick Sharma. I run a company called Sharma Brands, and I get asked to do these things all the time. So that's why I'm here. I think I'm just a voice. But I want to quickly have everybody introduce ourselves, and then we'll get right into it. But today we're going to be talking about scaling beyond Meta. You know, everybody's addicted to the Meta drug. And do we have any people from Meta here? Perfect, because we are talking a lot of shit today. So, all right. So we're going to be talking all things scaling outside of Meta. You'll notice actually a lot of these sponsors here help you scale outside of Meta. Everything from High Tide, which is helping you do social automation within Instagram DMs, to House, which lets you test things, Superfiliate on the affiliate side, Agile with trucks. These are all great companies, actually companies that I work with pretty often. So definitely check them out if you're interested in scaling beyond Meta. So let's get started. Kyle, you want to introduce yourself? You should introduce yourself. First of all, tell us what this is, and then tell us who you are, what you do, and your favorite reality show.
Thank you, Nick. And hey, everyone, my name is Kyle Bergman. I am the founder and chief Swoveralls officer at Swoveralls, and I also help out with marketing with Dude Robe. And we have the founder of Dude Robe, Howie, right here in the front row. Yeah. So Nick asked what I'm wearing. I am wearing Swoveralls. Swoveralls are the glorious combination of sweatpants and overalls into one incredibly comfy masterpiece. I apologize that I'm not wearing the purple in the picture. We're sold out, but we do have the limited edition Dino print. And what I found over the years is that if you are looking at me right now and you're offended, I've come to love that. Swoveralls are very polarizing, and that's actually paid dividends on Meta, which we can talk about in a little bit. But so I work on Swoveralls and Dude Robe, my favorite reality TV show. I'm going to go with, this isn't really reality TV, but Miss Rachel. For the other parents out there that know Miss Rachel, she is a godsend. Also a huge fan of overalls, and that show is epic if you have kids under 3. Thank you. Nicole?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Fish. I have been working with in marketing and e-commerce with consumer brands for the last 20 years, most recently as the SVP of marketing at Lalo. I'm currently on my own as a consultant and fractional CMO, working with brands that are either looking to scale or brands that just need an extra set of hands and aren't ready to hire a full-time marketing leadership. And let's see, I'm going to go with Love is Blind for sure.
Hi, everyone. I'm Torin. I run the growth team at a furniture company called Branch, based in the city. And run everything that relates to acquisition, retention, creative direction, retail expansion for the company. So favorite reality TV show, I feel like I don't watch much TV, but I'm a big fan of like the Netflix sports reality shows. So like F1, the quarterback series, the NBA series. Those are my jam.
Amazing. All right. Well, mine is Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So to start us off, I want to know from each of you, what over the last 12 to 18 months is a channel outside of Meta that you have tested and seen have real performance marketing impact, not just, getting impressions?
So for Swoveralls, for better or worse, I am the company mascot. And on TikTok, about a year ago, I was frustrated with the lack of momentum that we were getting there. And I pulled out my phone and I did a selfie, and I'll show you exactly what I did. I think this is important because the hook on TikTok, as we all know, is really important. So I was walking in my backyard and I took my phone exactly like this and I said, "This is your daily reminder that sweatpant overalls exist and your body deserves a pair." And I put my phone away, and a couple hours later, I checked TikTok, and that video had about 500,000 views. and sales that day spiked. And since then, I've done that exact same 12-second clip 35 times. And almost every time it's gotten minimum 10,000 views. I did it 3 days ago. It's at like 365. So me just reminding people that sweatband overalls exist seems to work. It's driven a lot of organic traffic and sales.
All right. Well, I'm going to say micro influencer, especially with influencers with under 50,000 followers. I think a lot of people I talk to say, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. But I think you have to really think of it as its own full channel and think of the whole ecosystem in order to get it to really work as a performance channel. So if you're going to do something like this, I would say don't just do 1 or 2 or 3 posts. You have to plan out to do a really significant number of posts at once, like 100 posts. And then once you know that those are happening, really think of it the same way you would think of any other full funnel strategy. So you want to have people that have hooks that are more upper funnel, that are talking about how much they love your brand. You want to have hooks that are more mid to lower funnel, that are talking about your product or your offer. And then all of that is going to work together to really get you to move the needle. And, I know a lot of people also worried about attribution when you're talking about influencer. I think post-purchase surveys, when you're doing that kind of stuff, are really super helpful to see. And other side benefit is that you're going to get a lot of content out of it. So you can use that content then to put back into Meta, to whitelist, to generate even more. So
I'll give sort of a long-winded answer, but something we've been pretty surprised by recently has been the number of consumers that have purchased from us and said they heard about us through an AI assistant. So Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini. Obviously, those LLMs are sort of like a black box right now. I think most marketers are trying to figure out what their play is. We started investing in affiliate marketing many years ago. And when I say affiliate, I'm talking about sort of partnering with publications, editors, commerce writers, getting them to talk about your product, whether it's organically or through a paid side of things. And so having other people talk about your product, I think, that compounding over years, over months, I think has been very beneficial for us now in this world in which all of these LLM crawlers are weighting heavily these publications. But the other thing that we've been doing recently has been ramping up our presence on Reddit. It's a community that talks about our types of products a lot for whatever reason. And so about 12 months ago, we started working with an organic Reddit agency that has been helping us just stay involved in the conversation and build community on Reddit. And to our surprise, like Reddit is, as I'm sure many of you know, heavily weighted now in many of these models. And so the fact that I think we've been showing up in a lot of these different channels and forums has enabled us to just show up in a lot of these responses when folks use these chatbots for product searches, which I think more people are doing now. So long-winded answer. I don't know what the play is right now and how to capitalize on what these chatbots are going to be doing. But I think like the foolproof way to set yourself up for success is like invest in affiliate, invest in press, and probably invest in Reddit if your customers are on there talking about your types of product.
All three of you basically said social proof, like secondary presence is what I call it, which is combining third-party social proof validation and first-party, basically inside baseball of placing all of these things there, which is really interesting. I'm curious, Kyle, with the TikTok success, what'd you do? Did you take that creative and, well, first of all, you're the boss, so you didn't have to convince anybody, but how would you convince somebody to do that internally? Because a lot of people have these brand books they stay loyal to. And secondly, what'd you do? Did you set up TikTok Shop? Did you start running ads behind those posts? Did you take that creative and run it elsewhere?
Yeah, it's a good question. We had a lot of success on Meta up at that point, but weren't able to figure out TikTok paid. We put some paid behind that video and it did okay, but taking that video, taking it not only to Meta, but also taking it to what was at the time TVads.ai and is now Upscale was a game changer for us. Now, the title of this discussion, Scaling Beyond Meta, I think suggests that this is for brands that have reached a cap, are spending hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars a month on Meta and aren't seeing the return that they once did. But Swivells, which was spending and is spending a fraction of that, was able to see profitable results by taking a video that was made natively on TikTok and putting it on connected TV. And we were able to do that through the technology that Upscale offers. And so that was a really unique opportunity, and I'm grateful to the team for us being a guinea pig there. As the boss, I didn't really have to ask anyone if we could test this space that really Swivells has no right being in, like a smaller brand being on connected TV. But because we didn't have to make a traditional commercial and we're able to use something that already existed and that we knew was resonating with people, we tested it. And we tested it with about $250 a day in a retargeting campaign, and it worked. So, yeah.
Sweet. I'm curious, as you guys evaluate channels that are outside Meta, what kind of criteria or what checkboxes, what are things you look for? You know, if you jump on with any publisher or exchange or platform, they're going to tell you that the ROI is 50x and, you know, that it's better than Meta. You're going to reach people outside of the Meta ecosystem. You know, they kind of tell you a bunch of baloney. So I'm curious, what do you guys look for? Or just your own criteria to evaluate?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be different for every channel. Audience is obviously important, but I think the most important thing I usually look for is if you can show up with the right creative that feels authentic to your brand and also feels authentic to that channel. So you really want to make sure that you're not choosing a channel because it's getting a lot of press or buzz if you don't feel like your team has the resources to create what is needed for that channel. Very often you can repurpose things from Meta or other channels, but that's not always the case. And you really want to make sure that you feel like what you're going to put out is really reflective of your brand. And also dollars wise, right? Like you want to make sure that you can test the channel in a really small way where you're going to get results and be able to measure them without putting a ton of money into it, without proving those results out first. So.
I would agree. I would just add incrementality testing is like the sort of be all end all for us in terms of whether to really hit go on a channel or not. I think there's a lot of things you look for when you're like scaling a channel from nothing to a couple $1,000s a day potentially. You look at what's happening in platform, you look at program wide level, you know, is blended CAC and marketing efficiency staying the same while you're able to kind of scale things? And you sort of look at correlated metrics. If you're investing in TV, you're hoping that branded traffic and post-purchase survey is trending with your spend. But once a channel gets up to a certain point, we just sort of run an incrementality test and let the data speak for itself. And that's been really huge for us in determining, is this working? Can we, you know, 2x, 10x the budget over the next 12 months? Or do we need to really evaluate things?
Yeah, and one thing I'll add there is something that has burned me and my team historically is we're bullish, we love to test, something works, but we were thinking about how would we scale the budget instead of how would we scale the system. And so now we're starting to think about what's the, you know, one of the sexiest terms that you can say out there these days is like your creative flywheel. What are you doing? And I love that. And if you know anything about a creative flywheel, it could be a really powerful tool to drive a marketing engine. At times when something was working, but my team and I weren't able to get the assets and all of the other things that go into making that product sing, now it's about, okay, this might work, but can we make a system to support it as well?
I'm curious going into the creative side. So, you know, sometimes it's hard to just take what works best on Meta and just copy paste it to another platform. Can you guys talk about an example where, you know, you launched on a new channel and how you thought about the creative approach to that.
I can tell you. We had a pretty hard learning curve on this. So before TV ads, Upscale existed, we wanted to test into TV. This was maybe 2 years ago or so. We were under the impression you needed big budget, high level production to test into TV. That's sort of what we had been told. That's what we had seen other brands doing. For that reason, we hadn't done TV to date. And then, a couple of years ago, we said, okay, let's test into TV. We did the whole thing. We spent 6-figure production budget. We went to LA. We filmed on a soundstage. We made this really nice brand spot, VFX, everything. The creative was great. I think it was definitely more top of funnel aimed. We launched it on linear and it was okay. Like it performed fine. Not enough for us to say, wow, TV is the next meta for us. But it did well enough for us to say, okay, let's continue running this for the foreseeable future. And then a year later, we decide we need to do TV creative refresh. We say we're not going to be spending the same amount of budget we did on the first spot. So we ended up taking a different direction, very much more experimental direction. So we wrote like a very comedic script. It was almost like we turned kind of like a social media meme into a commercial about our product. Spent less than half the budget we did, filmed it, put it on TV like 3 weeks later, and it absolutely crushed. The response rates were 2-3 times what we had been seeing from our brand spot. And so that was just the reality staring us in the face of sometimes the creative you think you need to launch on a new channel isn't what you need. Like the versatility of the creative you shoot now is pretty paramount to how we think about it. So if you're thinking about TV, I would stray away from saying you have to invest in high production spot to test into it. But yeah, test everything, let the data sort of tell you where to go. But that was just like a very in-your-face learning experience for us.
You mentioned you started with linear and it didn't work as well, and then started working, or you retested it differently. What was the media plan or budget approach, and how was that different the second time?
The first time on when we ran our brand spot, I think we were paying a premium for great day spots, great channels. CPMs were really high, but response weights were really low. So the return was not great. And conversion was also fairly low. It was a much more top of funnel spot. So it wasn't focused on converting the folks that were seeing the spot. I think it was more of getting a good amount of impressions in, which has its value. The next time we ran on linear, we prioritized cheaper CPMs. We had much more direct call to actions in the spot. The creative itself was very much more problem solution oriented. So it was way easier for somebody who's seeing it the first time to say, oh yeah, of course I would need a branch product. So I think there was like some stuff on the campaign level side, but some stuff on the creative side that just made it work a lot more effectively.
Yeah, I mean, so at Lala, we did this for Meta. I have to give credit to Michael, our founder, who thought of this idea, but you can actually do it pretty much for any channel. We found like we were getting a lot of creative fatigue and sort of running out of ideas. We built this concept in our team called the Writer's Room, which is sort of modeled after SNL. And the whole marketing team would come together bi-weekly. And the rule was it was a 1-hour meeting where everyone had to pitch you had 1 minute to pitch one concept. And you had to make sure that whatever concept you pitched could be created and up on Meta within a week. And so everyone would go around, they would pitch their idea. And very often we invited other members of the team, like even HR or sales, just like for fun to get other perspectives. And we would come out and at the end, everybody would vote for one concept. Pretty often, that concept actually wasn't what you would normally think for a paid ad. It was actually more like something that you would think about for an organic play. But whatever we got, we would either create it or we would send it to our Sharma team to create for us. And pretty, like almost all the time, that ad that we came out of that meeting rose to the top in terms of ROAS pretty quickly. So it sounds like a pretty straightforward concept, but it worked for us like time and time again. So I think you can use that idea and, tap into your team, the people that are spending all this time on social, that are spending their time consuming all this media, and they know the product best, they know the market best, and, work together to kind of come up with fresh ideas.
I love that idea. Might steal that.
Do you think so what would my prompt be to ChatGPT to create that? Your room of
You can't use ChatGPT.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Torin, I'm curious how you guys spend on so many channels. How do you think about carrying winning hooks from a platform like TV to Meta to PR and advertorials to influencers, etc.?
On the creative side of things, I think it varies by channel, it varies by audience, it also varies sort of by creative format. The spot that we filmed and launched on linear, the more comedic spot that ended up doing well on Tatari, didn't end up doing well on YouTube, which was somewhat surprising to us. On Meta, we run creative that Upscale has created for us that has seen more volatile results than we would see with Upscale. So I think like you can have assumptions on what the right solution is for each channel, but you have to pretty much test everything. For PR, I think it's a little bit different. And on the organic side, it's very different. I think it's much more product focused. It's much more benefits focused. On social, you just have so much more creativity. You can use influencers, UGC. You can do a high production level spot, or you can film it in your living room. So the short answer is like, don't think you know it, just test it and let it tell you what works.
And Kyle or Nicole, do you guys have thoughts around, people who think that UGC style creative for TV is not good enough or not premium enough?
I mean, the results kind of speak for themselves as far as what we did with Swoveralls. And, what Torin said about making sure that your creative has enough legs or variability to be cross-platform is something that we experienced at Swoveralls almost out of a necessity. One thing that we did is we emailed a segment of our customers that were in the New York City area, created a segment in Klaviyo, created a text-based email. Hey, it's Kyle for Swoveralls. We'd love to give you 2 pairs in exchange for a couple pictures and maybe a video that we could use on our website and in ads. And people were thrilled. And I'm not sure if that can work for every brand, but it's something that we've gone back to again and again. If you go to swoveralls.com, not saying that you need to, but if you do, 90% of the humans that you see on that site are customers that were happy to shoot a picture. And so the authenticity that came through in those selfies or setting up their tripod, we ran those on Meta, we ran those on YouTube Shorts, we ran those on Upscale and CTV, and for us, they all worked. If I were to ask myself why, I think we almost subconsciously are starting with the first principle of letting those people tell their story of why this solved a problem. It's so easy to get lost in the sauce of how's attribution. Are we testing all these tools? What does success look like? And so I was a lot smarter than I am in hindsight by giving our product to a customer and saying, tell everyone how you think Swoveralls are on your body. And that produced for us.
Yeah, I had the same experience as Torin with TV, where at Lala we initially produced like a pretty high quality spot to run on linear, which still has its place. But as soon as we started working with the Upscale team, they produced a much more UGC forward version. And we actually ran that against the produced spot on linear TV, and the UGC version like killed it. And so I would just encourage anyone to think about that approach and not be too precious with kind of your content that you're putting out there.
I'm convinced like consumers don't really know what they're watching nowadays, like YouTube TV, streaming TV, linear TV, like it all like most people that watch YouTube watch it on a TV. Like I think they're sort of blending together. The barriers between them are coming down.
Kyle, you mentioned attribution. So I'm curious, how do you guys, when you're testing new channels, every channel will say that their results are amazing. Programmatic banner ads will say you have a 25x ROI. And, but then when you run a true test, you see that the numbers are a lot different. So how do you guys think about running tests, or what do you do to measure the effectiveness of new channels and then decide how you allocate budget?
It's a constant work in progress. I think as the landscape changes, at Swoveralls and Deedrobe, we use Triple Whale to measure attribution. We're also using post-purchase surveys, which Nicole mentioned, and that first-party data is really valuable. Also looking in platform. I think the two North Star metrics that we look at are ROAS, or ecosystem ROAS, so at a media efficiency level, and then also contribution margin. And so when we look at contribution margin over a 90-day time frame, are we seeing a lift from this specific channel that we're testing? I think the amount that we're spending, it depends. It depends on promotion that we're doing. Is it a product launch, the time of year? So I'm trying not to do too much of a word salad right now, but it's really contextual based on what the needs of our business at that time.
I'm a big fan of incrementality testing too, especially with like a partner like House or any of the others. But I think really only if especially if you're not D2C only, like if you have Amazon or Target, multiple channels is really where you're going to see the most impact in terms of understanding. And then also the other thing I would say is similar maybe to what you're saying was, you got to look at it from multiple angles. So recently we ran a YouTube awareness campaign for Lalo's launch at Target, and we ran a test through House to test the incrementality of the channel. But we also ran a brand search lift study through Google, and we got the results from House, saw that the channel was incremental, so it sort of validates that spending. But we also were able to see through the Google study that in the geos that we were running the YouTube ads, we saw a drastically increased lift in brand searches, which for me is even more important than the incrementality results, because really at the end of the day, if you want your Meta campaigns and your Google campaigns to be effective, you have to be creating that demand off channel that's going to bleed in. And so seeing those Google results was really a great complement to the incrementality test, not just looking at the incrementality on its own.
I would agree with what they both said. We've been doing a little bit more on the top of funnel side recently, so relying on incrementalities testing, knowing that top of funnel has a lot of secondary and tertiary order effects that won't always show up in platform. I think testing helps a lot with that. And looking at sort of primary sources, branded search, direct traffic, things like that top of funnel tends to impact more than just purchase volume. The other thing I'll say is I think we also just look at improvements in the channel over time, especially if it's a new channel, understanding that it takes time to get a channel to ramp up to, be on par with the Meta campaigns that you've been optimizing for 5 years. I think it's unfair to say that your first $1,000 into a new channel, you're comping against that. So whatever the metrics are that you're looking at that's channel specific, whether it's engagement metrics, whether it's post-purchase survey results, whatever it is, as long as the trend line is improving over time, and at least hopefully you have a path toward improving it over time, then I think it's worthwhile to continue to invest. I don't think it's safe to say that you can make a call on, 10 or 20 grand and spend on a brand new channel.
Yeah. How do you guys let's say you're running a new channel, a top of funnel channel that's more view through based versus click through based. Like, how do you decide what kind of budget to allocate and what are you just running a house test and running a new channel and seeing what happens, or how do you actually go through that?
Yeah, I mean, generally running a house test anytime I'm doing a new channel if I can. Just because, well, especially Lalo's business was really heavy in Amazon. And so a lot of times those top of funnel things like TikTok and YouTube specifically, you're not really seeing that impact in platform and D2C, but you're seeing a major impact on Amazon. And so it's just like a really clean, easy way to do it. I mean, there's definitely other ways to do it if you have like, other tools, but.
And I'll just say that that's helpful for us to hear, because Dude Rope has grown Amazon year over year tremendously. We're starting to ask ourselves incrementality questions. We're not using house. We're building an internal model that we could use, but for brand that might also be growing on Amazon, wondering if $1 spent on Meta is providing that return on that channel. That's helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, it was sort of our hypothesis, especially we did a lot of paid on TikTok. And so the hypothesis there was that like people that are seeing these ads on TikTok are for sure going to Amazon, and just sort of wanted to validate that. And it was pretty clear. So hopefully that's happening for you as well.
What was the increase in you saw?
What was the % increase that you saw?
It varied. I mean, it wasn't obviously the majority, but it was like if you were looking at your Meta campaign as being, you were getting let's say you were getting like a 3 or 4 ROAS. Once you added an Amazon results, you could look at that up to like 5 or 6. So it was significant.
I'm curious, have you guys tested channels that didn't work and lost money?
I mean, of course. As Torrin was talking, it occurred to me for the first time that when you test a new channel, I think you have to have a almost VC mindset where you're almost like just throwing money out the window. It's important to, I'm not a VC, don't really know any. I've gotten rejected by a decent chunk of them, but I also imagine that they have some sort of benchmark of like, how much money do we want to blow? Or like, we know that we're going to invest in 100 companies, and if 2 of them hits, we make our, LPs and everyone happy. So I think the same thing is true. There's been a couple marketing platforms. I mean, one, does Fair count? I don't know. Has anyone here, show of hands, anyone here crushing it on Fair or using Fair? Heard of Fair? You doing well? Using, not crushing. Yeah. I think the costs that we spent on Fair was more of an opportunity cost of spending time trying to build that up. I know there are some agencies out there that are helping brands create Fair opportunities. And for those that don't know, Fair is a marketplace that allows you to sell to mom and pop stores that might be interested in your product. A great concept. I haven't been able to unlock it.
I don't know if I have one. I mean, I think people are so nervous these days, right? Especially with like tariffs and focus on efficiency. Like, it's really, really hard to kind of put your neck out there and say like, hey, I want to try this channel in a big way and not have gotten results with it in the past or go into it in a really small way. So I don't know. I don't think I have a good answer for this one.
We've lost a lot of money. It's across channels though. So, if you know Branch, we sell office furniture. Pre-pandemic, we were primarily selling to businesses. Post-pandemic, most of our business is now direct to consumer. But we still sell to businesses. B2B is still a fast-growing and large chunk of our business. We spent a lot of money and attention to trying to crack B2B marketing for our business. Facebook, LinkedIn, search, all the traditional avenues. And the main takeaway every single time is that for us, the best way to build our B2B business and B2B brand is to grow our consumer brand. It turns out if you're a founder, if you're a COO, if you're somebody that's tasked with furnishing your workspace, you're doing research and learning about office furniture the same way you would as a regular consumer that you're shopping for your home office. So the more we invested in our consumer marketing and growing our consumer brand, the more our B2B business was growing. And every time we launched dedicated B2B campaigns that were targeting, the founder level folks, the facilities managers, the operations managers at these companies, trying to sort of outsmart the system, we just kind of got burned most of the time. So we still do like a little bit here and there in the right pockets, but for the most part, we've just sort of accepted that the best way to build that business is to build a consumer brand first.